would be some of the opportunities. We've partnered with the NSE and the capital markets, with the CBSC to innovate. Akiba buying bonds, the first mobile retail bond, Bonga points for shares from last year. Your Excellency, you may have a lot of Bonga points in your phone. I can tell you how to redeem some of those Bonga points for shares. We can do more together to promote fractional ownership of shares, and we can use digital channels for that, both shares and bonds, to democratize participation. But also on the supply side, we can do more to help MSMEs and SMEs who are, we have about 1 million SMEs on our platform. We can improve education, awareness, and deliver digital journeys. Listing is complicated and daunting, and managing a listed business is no mean task. Reporting, governance, ESG, and so on. As a corporate and as a technology company, we can work with SMEs, especially for retail investors and medium-sized businesses.
Are keyed in, and you can see all.
And they can see the market at the same time. As I said earlier, we have ability to buy and sell shares also same day. So you can buy Safaricom or you can buy Cooperative Bank and sell it the same day. So the market is actually dynamic. Thank you very much.
We thank Your Excellency. Sasa tumpigie makofi, tumpongeze kwa makofi after participating in the trading for the day. Asante, we may all be seated as we continue with the program. Allow me, Your Excellency, sir, now to invite Madam Bide Mwema, the Chief Business Officer, NSE, to coordinate the session on listing experience. Bide, karibu. Kindly, if we can have the sound proper for her, kindly, thank you. Asante.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President, the Governor, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. We are very excited to be having the launch of the NSE Marketplace. The NSE has been here for 68 years. It's been a great journey for us, different milestones. So when we present the next speakers, who will be speaking to us about their listing experience, as well as the advantages and benefits of having come to the capital markets, it's only an honor to be able to present them. We have 5 speakers who will be coming to us today. We will start off with Mr. Peter Ndegwa, the Chief Executive Officer of Safaricom PLC. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Peter Ndegwa.
Your Excellency, the President, Dr. William Ruto, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Your Excellency, the Governor of Nairobi, all protocols observed. Good morning, and thank you, Chair of Nairobi Stock Exchange, for the invite today. We've been given very strict time, so I'll keep to my time. So it is important to demystify the NSE and the stock exchange, the stock listing and trading with the launch of the NSE Marketplace. Safaricom is the largest listed business with approximately 1 trillion Kenya shillings in market capitalization since being listed around 2008. We have benefited hugely as Safaricom from the listing, from accessing finance locally, but also internationally. We have about 50-50 between local and international investors. It has helped us build our reputation and our own credibility, both here locally through the local participation, but also externally. And that is why Safaricom, as a local company, is able to go to markets such as Ethiopia. Last week, we made a huge milestone, and thank you, Your Excellency, for being the guest of honor at the launch of Safaricom Ethiopia, but also helping us with the getting the mobile financial services license in Ethiopia. Of course, we have benefited a lot, but I will speak also as a supplier of services as a technology company. We need to solve some of the barriers, or continue to solve some of the barriers to both the listing and the trading, and broaden participation and liquidity. Stocks and exchange are complicated to the ordinary person and to small business owners. We need to raise awareness, we need to drive education, we need to simplify products, we need to improve experience, and also we need to reduce cost of access. There's no better way than digitizing and automating processes and customer journeys. Some of the speakers have already started to speak. And since COVID, we've seen accelerated use of online platforms. Use of mobile handsets as a channel because it's ubiquitous, mobile payments as a way of settling and making experience seamless, and remove time-bound nature to trading would be some of the opportunities. We've partnered with the NSE and the capital markets, with the CDSC to innovate. Akiba buying bonds, the first mobile retail bond, Bonga points for shares from last year. Your Excellency, you may have a lot of Bonga points in your phone. I can tell you how to redeem some of those Bonga points for shares. We can do more together to promote fractional ownership of shares. And we can use these digital channels for that, both shares and bonds, to democratize participation. But also on the supply side, we can do more to help MSMEs and SMEs who are, we have about 1 million SMEs on our platform. We can improve education, awareness, and deliver digital journeys. Listing is complicated and daunting, and managing a listed business is no mean task. Reporting, governance, ESG, and so on. As a corporate and as a technology company, we can work with the with the NSE and the CMA to make it easier. Your Excellency, we are ready to work with the NSE and key partners to educate, to innovate, and to digitize and improve convenience, especially for retail investors and medium-sized businesses who want to raise funding. It's about enabling savings, financing, investment, and partnership. Thank you, Your Excellency.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, we can do better than that. I will invite our next speaker for today, Ms. Jane Karuku, the Chief Executive Officer of East African Breweries Limited.
Good morning, everybody. Your Excellency, I've been told I can say all protocols observed, and it's okay. All right, so I'm very honored to be here this morning, particularly to talk at the NSE. We are proud. As a company, we are very proud. We are one of the founders of NSE from 1954, that's when we started trading. And I think we've been there for 100 years. We are celebrating 100 years this year. And in 1954, there were just a few participants, but we kept coming back. So in 1972, we raised 3 million, we gave 3 million shares to the public, and the price was 18 shillings a share. Imagine that. I guess it was still very expensive. In 2000, we came back and then listed another 9 million shares at a price of, I don't think I'll say that. But in 2015, we came back to raise money from the bond. And in 2017 and in 2021. As a regional company, we always look to the Nairobi Stock Exchange to raise funds for our expansion in capital projects or even for operations. And some of the money we just raised in 6 months ago or going back, 2015 we raised 5 billion, 2017 we raised 6 billion, and I guarantee you we've been paying back. We've never defaulted on any. In 2021, just a few months ago, we raised 11 billion shillings. When we came to the market, we got oversubscribed to 38 billion shillings. So we wished we had plans to do that. So I think what I'm saying, there's a lot of money in the market. And I remember when leaders, we were looking for efficiencies, and I must say we got that efficiency. And this was actually recognized as one of the best bonds by the Bonds and Loans Africa in local currency. It was the bond of the year. I think you need to clap for that, because working with NSE, CMA, and other partners, ABSA, and image registrars, I think we did a great job on technology. It was during COVID. We didn't have any physical meetings, but everything was transacted via Safaricom and via Zoom calls, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I think going forward, there's some things that we can do. I think we need more innovation, and I think all speakers are talking about innovation. We are talking of green bonds. We are talking about bringing the cost of transactions down, and I think we can also do better in terms of regulation. Sometimes the regulators, and I know I keep telling my friends on the left, Shamir, some of the regulations sometimes come in the way of efficiencies at the stock exchange. So thank you very much. I hope you're buying our shares. And I'm not here to compete with Peter, but one last thing, I think if we improve the efficiency of the stock exchange, we can bring better efficiency and yields to people who are investing. So thank you very much.
If you're not buying the shares, you can clap harder. Once again, Ms. Jane Karuku, the Chief Executive Officer of East African Breweries. Next up, we have Dr. James Mwangi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Equity Group, PLC.
Your Excellency the President, Excellency the Deputy President, Excellency the Governor of Nairobi, investors, the leadership of NSE and capital markets, Your Excellency, it's a really great honor that you have done to us who are in the stock exchange by ringing the bell today. Let me try and just focus on our experience. My friend Kiprono said this equity represent hustlers coming good. And truly, I still remember the 1st of January 2005. We are talking of 17 years ago, when Equity Building Society, a village mutual fund owned by 2,500 farmers, mainly tea, milk, and informal traders, got equity convert from a mutual fund to a bank. The following year, we entered the Nairobi Stock Exchange. It was a rigorous process, as Peter and Jane has said, complex, of course, for the hustlers. So my friend Peter Murigo was guiding me on this. Peter, where are you? I really recognize that great movement. But we argued a lot. As I said, we want an IPO. He told me your shares will trade at 70 shillings. That will be the introduction price. We'll ring the bell at 70. I said, Peter, we have worked very hard. We believe the price is 120. So we disagreed. Then I told him, we are equity. We seek fairness and justice. Let's list through an introduction without raising money. And sure thing, when we rang the bell, the price struck at 123. The hustlers would have lost 71% of their value through a valuation. So the most important thing about Nairobi Stock Exchange is helping you to discover the true value. It's an honest price that the market gives. A year later, 2006, we then used the discovered price of 123 to raise money from Helios, and we all know it became the largest investment transaction in the region. Again, midwifed by Jimna Barrow. Jimna, I'm very grateful for that. On that day, we raised $185 million. It was 11.4 billion Kenya shillings, making us the most capitalized bank. I think the most significant thing is the power of a stock exchange to raise capital. The hustlers from Nyagatogo village had found a way of getting partners who had capital, and they had capitalized their business. Take it from that, on that day, I can see, but allow me to tell the story of the hustlers. Thank you very much. Taking it from that day, we didn't, because we had raised capital from one individual as a strategic investor to give us anchor, the 2,000 hustlers found liquidity from the stock exchange. Today, they have sold to 30,000 other investors without Equity ever issuing. Your Excellency, you know most of them. Both are friends. So we can see how the market avails liquid 12 billion shillings. Today, the market cap, Your Excellency, is 175 billion and a balance sheet of 1.4 trillion shillings. That is a very complex organization. But the stock exchange has allowed us to be able to transit and the hustler shareholders to invite sophisticated and complex shareholders. Today, Equity's largest shareholder is the sovereign wealth fund of Norway, Norfund, holding 13% shareholding. And without ever having been sold to the company, they bought from the market. The second largest shareholder is the World Bank Group. Recently concluded a transaction in April this year when they bought the shares of 7% of the shares of Britam. And we can see how Equity then can move from a hustler company to a global company simply because of a stock exchange. Allow me, lastly, to appreciate the power of governance. And maybe we said we could continue to strengthen the governance structures of the listed companies, the capital markets, the NSE legal framework, to enforce very strong corporate governance. This is what has enabled Equity in the last 3 years to be able to raise 150 billion Kenya shillings of foreign loans to be able to lead to our real economy. And we are able to give significant loans, either in local currency and shillings, simply because there is an assurance, because there is visibility from the stock exchange. But more importantly, the value of that governance. The shareholders, the hustlers who were in Equity in 2,500, have realized from one share through bonuses and splits, 600 shares. Their wealth over a period from 2000 to date has gone up 159,000% simply because of strong governance structure. So growth is quickly translated into value because of strong governance structure. So in Croatia, Your Excellency, I plead with you to use the Nairobi Stock Exchange to empower the hustler community. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. We can do better than that. This place is a place for empowering stock, not only the capital markets, but the SMEs. Then we have our next speaker, who's Dr. Gideon Muriuki, the Chief Executive Officer of Cooperative Bank. Let's put our hands together for him. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, Your Excellency Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President, Your Excellency the Governor, Honorable Sakanja, Professor Jogona Dungo, incoming Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury, Economic Planning, Honorable Moses Kuria, incoming Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Trade, Investments and Industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, I was asked to share the CoBank story. And the CoBank story is one of a small bank seeking to raise capital to increase its competitive edge in the industry, and particularly, as you know, our structure to ring-fence the cooperative sector, that's the bottom of the pyramid that predominantly owns the bank. The Kenyan cooperative movement, Your Excellency, with over 13 million members in over 22,000 cooperative societies and circles across all sectors, is the largest in Africa. The alternative, Your Excellency, of leveraging on retained earnings every year had proved to be slow and costly in terms of being competitive as a bank. Your Excellency, we started our IPO preparation in year 2007, and we had to deal with a couple of challenges. The very first challenge was coming from the bottom of the pyramid as a cooperative society. We had been incorporated as a cooperative society at the very onset. And so when we came to CMA law applied to limited liability companies. We needed to deal with that issue of how do we get to listed as a cooperative society. Number two, Your Excellency, there was a fear of loss of by the cooperative movement. They felt possibly they will lose control of this bank if it is listed. And thirdly, Your Excellency, when we actually finally came to the market, it was in 2008 when we had the global crisis. And there was a lot of discussion in terms of whether we should go on and not go on. And this morning I was remembering Mr. Mbaru and Mr. Wangunyo and Bob Karina. They came to my office and we had a lot of discussion, and eventually there were statements to and fro we should not go ahead, but eventually we went ahead with the listing, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the IPO raised 5.4 billion. That 5.4 billion for a cooperative bank, Your Excellency, was a lot of money. That money came in handy for us as a bank, supporting the bottom of the pyramid. We have progressively increased our footprint from only 59 branches then when we were listing to over 180 branches in the region today. We have diversified our product growth and the customer base to now, from where we were about 1 million customers then, we are over 9 million Kenyans that are banking with the Cooperative Bank, deepened our penetration in corporate and commercial banking, but more notably, Your Excellency, we have really penetrated the MSME market. Today, as a bank, we have over 1.9 million Kenyans in the MSME market with us. We went into fund management. We have a subsidiary business for fund management, managing over 200 billion of funds today, Cooperative Investment Services. We went into regional expansion in South Sudan, invested in additional transformation in the bank. Today, over 94% of our transactions as a bank, Your Excellency, are on alternative channels because of that digital transformation. We also went into insurance business, bought 25% of insurance, CIC Insurance Group. We also went into stockbroking business, and also through Kingdom Securities. More importantly, Your Excellency, we strengthened our grip in the cooperative sector. We invested a lot of money, as you're aware, in the from the listing. We created an in the rural areas, with a very deep penetration to that bottom of the pyramid and doing great work down there. And so, Your Excellency, today, CoBank, with an asset base today of over 600 billion, from the small bank that had around 83 billion we were listing, we believe we are playing a much bigger role in the support of our Kenyan people and the region. For instance, Your Excellency, my friend Peter Degwa Safaricom will tell you that CoBank and that SACCO integrated model, Your Excellency, is doing the largest Lipa and M-Pesa termination for Safaricom. We are terminating over 500 billion shillings every year, and this is increasing to about 65 billion per month now for the market. Your Excellency, allow me to mention that during the COVID-19 crisis, when conventional wisdom was that we don't distribute dividends, and there was a word we don't distribute dividend, CoBank actually approached our regulator, Central Bank of Kenya, and the Deputy Governor is here, and we told Central Bank, CoBank was created for a time like this. If there is a global crisis, if there is a financial crisis at a COVID-19, the retro will make us CoBank, we should share with the millions of Kenya out there. And the governor Central Bank of Kenya, Your Excellency, did support us. And during 2019 and 2020, Your Excellency, CoBank distributed over 11 billion shillings to the cooperative movement as dividends at that critical moment, which was a very timely relief for that sector. Your Excellency, I can't conclude without thanking you for creating the dedicated Ministry of Cooperatives and SMEs, Your Excellency, and CS Honorable Simon Chirugui. We are all set for the key challenges you have set for us to further deepen this sector, Your Excellency. The SACCOS structure, Your Excellency, meets the requirements of successfully handling the hustler fund in terms of financial access, in terms of traceability, Your Excellency, in terms of inclusivity, in terms of affordability and overall sustainability of the fund. We have very good group lending models within the SACCOS that will be able to take you there for that. And as I conclude, Your Excellency, I'll just say from our journey as CoBank, I overwhelmingly encourage more corporates to list an Nairobi Securities Exchange. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Gideon Muriuki, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Cooperative Bank. Last but not least, in terms of the people who are talking to us about the listing experience, is Mr. Jose Akili. What we were trying to achieve in this segment was to demonstrate the benefits of listing for existing issuances, but also to get people who are considering the capital markets to give us their perspective when it comes to that. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Jose Akili, Chief Executive Officer, CPF Financial Services. Over to you, sir.
Your Excellency, the President, the Deputy President, all protocols observed. I stand here, sir, to represent both CPF Financial Services Group, which comprises the Lap Trust Pension Fund, which was started in 1929 under City Council of Nairobi, and the County Pension Fund, which is now the scheme for umbrella scheme for 47 county governments. I also stand here to represent Association of Pension Trustees and Administrators of Kenya as their chairman, APTAC, which together we hold a value of over 1.6 trillion Kenya shillings in assets. We invest 47% into this market. In other words, all these listed companies are holding our money, and we are the biggest shareholder, I think, as a group. I'm glad to say, sir, that pension industry is a really engine of growth in a country like Kenya, just like in other parts of the world. The experience worldwide is that harnessing long-term contract funds, like pension funds, really is the solution to prosperity in a country. I want to say, for example, that through my own initiatives, working with our regulator, we've been able to unlock a certain amount of funding from the industry. We, for example, have dedicated 10% of our entire holding of 1.6 trillion available for affordable housing instruments. So the only challenge is that this has not been fully put forward or arranged within the industry so that you can focus it on that sector as you desire, and we are definitely ready to engage with your government. We actually want you to have a similar engagement with us as an industry, just like you are doing today with the capital markets. And we request that you give us audience. Secondly, sir, we are the biggest partner for the government in infrastructure development and investment. For example, if there was a serious thinking, most of the investments like the Lamu Port, SGR, Expressway, all would have been done by the pension industry if the instruments were structured well. You don't need foreign funding for that. The only thing, sir, we want to ask you is that there is a very interesting issue with your tax administration. There's a huge taxation on contributions of pensions into pension schemes, discouraging people to save. There is also a huge taxation on living when you're collecting your pension. something is wrong, definitely, sir, because if you want to encourage more savings as you want to do, you have got to sort it out. You've got to remove it. I would not want your support, which you promised the Kenyans, that you'll match for every 2 shillings they put in, you'll put a shilling. If it will end up in taxation, then I want to say on behalf of that industry, sir, that I served on their behalf in this stock exchange for the last 9 years, and I'm proud of the reforms we put together, and that's why we see this industry the way it is. We would like to see more listings. With the money we already have, we are unable to actually deploy it effectively to this market because there are no instruments, there are no listings. I would like to encourage the private sector, the family concerns, the family businesses to come to this market. I mean, I know we are encouraging our government to bring the market, but I want to challenge our brothers and sisters who have invested in the private sector. I see Fimal Shah there and others. Surely, why can't we bring the listing so that we can be able to buy into it? On behalf again of my CBF Financial Services Group, we have a lot of sizable property investment, around 17 billion, and we want to list part of it in this market. And we have actually applied to our regulators, and we are hoping that they will in due course give us the green light to bring the first ever IREIT, income REIT, real estate investment trust from the pension sector coming from LAP Trust of 7 billion shillings. And I hope we will be able to achieve that in due course. Finally, sir, we would like, again, as soon as possible, there are so many challenges in the pension industry. We would like to engage with you, and then you'll be able to clear the way, because I know you personally. You are able to solve the problem for us so that we can be able to mobilize more money and help you to actually rely more on local resources as opposed to foreign resources. So the final thing I want to say is that kindly make pension saving for all citizens mandatory. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do another round of applause for the comments from Mr. Jose Akili, the Chief Executive Officer of CPF Financial Services. It was certainly my honor and privilege, Your President, sir, to be able to facilitate this. My name is Mbithe Mwema. I'm the Chief Business Officer at the NSE. I have the humility and the privilege to actually work under my CEO, Mr. Geoffrey Odundo, who's the Chief Executive Officer, my Chairman, Mr. Kiprono Kitoni, and also my incoming Minister of Investments and Trade, Honorable Moses Kuria. I mentioned that just to say we are ready, whether you are in the public sector or the private sector. We have demonstrated to you that the NSE is the place where you get the power of capital. You unlock your value proposition as a company. And Your Excellency, sir, this is the place for hustlers. Tuko gangari. Na kwa lugha ya stockbrokers tuko farm. Stockbrokers tuko farm. Asante sana. All the best. God bless you and God bless Kenya. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bithe. Your Excellency, if it pleases Your Excellency, I will now invite Terry-Ann Chebet to moderate the high-level panel session. Terry-Ann, Kaibe.
Your Excellency, sirs, ladies and gentlemen, this high-level panel discussion is premised on the recognition that the revitalization of the economy through the capital markets, as well as the revitalization of the privatization program, cannot happen unless all the panelists present here today make not only firm, but measurable commitments, unless the institutions they lead align on the similar vision, unless the leaders here today commit to give goodwill, then our discussion is just another talk shop. My name is Terry-Ann Chebet, and I will be moderating this conversation this morning. And I'd like to welcome my panelists, Engineer Stanley Kamau, Director General, Public Investments Portfolio, Management Directorate at the National Treasury. Mr. Christopher Hooker, please make your way upstage, Acting Director General, Kenya Development Corporation. Ms. Olivia Rachier, Acting Chief Executive Officer at the Kenya Investment Authority, Dr. Anthony Omerikwa, Managing Trustee, the National Social Security Fund, Mr. Oscar Njuguna, Acting Chief Executive Officer, Nairobi International Financial Center Authority, Mr. Joseph Koskei, Executive Director, Privatization Commission, Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi, Board Chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. Let's give our chief guest a warm round of applause.
Let's remove this. Let's remove this.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, sir, I'd like to start off with you to kick off our conversation this morning. What is your vision for Kenya's capital markets?
Thank you very much, Marianne. My coming here this morning is not by default. It's not because I didn't have anything else to do. I came here deliberately because I believe the stock market has potential to help us do a couple of things. Number one, I believe the capital markets, and I've said this before, has the potential to help us raise development capital as government. Through the bond market, through listings of public owned companies, as has been said here by somebody, democratizing ownership, and by extension, wealth, making sure that more people have a stake in public companies that are doing well. And therefore, and I had this conversation a few years ago with the management of Nairobi Stock Exchange, the NSE. I have come here to ring the bell, not for trading, but for Nairobi Stock Exchange, Capital Markets Authority, and all institutions around the capital markets, that it is time to unlock the potential that exists in this institution to drive the economy of our country. I do not need any evidence beyond what James Mwangi has said or beyond what Safaricom have told us. There is demonstrable evidence that in the stock market, there is potential for us to raise the resources that today we are struggling to raise using debt instruments, using instruments that we are looking for in foreign capitals, debt what we are looking for multilateral institutions. That money that we are so desperately looking for out there, with proper instruments, we can get those resources from the people of Kenya through the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And I look forward from where I sit to government of Kenya raising more resources for our development using this NSE, I look forward to many Kenyans having the opportunity to buy, to sell, and to grow their wealth using the Nairobi Exchange. I look forward, for example, to that border guy. When waiting for the next customer, he is trading on his phone. That's really, I look forward. Instead of that border guy playing gaming, you know, the whole space that's now full of betting and guesswork and people losing money. I am looking forward to the time when Mama Mboga, while she's waiting for her next supply, she's on her phone buying Safaricom shares, buying Kenya Breweries shares, buying, hopefully, we should be able to buy Bitco shares, and the rest of them, you know? So that's really where I'm looking for. I'm looking at what we as government will be doing on one end and what Mama Mboga and Boda Boda will be doing on the other end. Everything in between is possible. That's my vision.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Mr. Kitoni, I'd like to come to you now. The capital markets has had a dearth of listings over the last 13 years, and we'd like to find out where have the biggest challenges been and what would it take to ensure more private listings, let's say at least 5, over the next 12 months.
Thank you very much, Terry-Ann. First of all, just to say that what His Excellency has just said is like music to my ears. And reading the Bible, they say, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Jeff and I and our board and all of us actors in the capital markets, we've been knocking on the door for many years until we almost started to think that that biblical verse does not hold true. But Your Excellency, what you've said today is really like what we've been waiting for. With respect to your question about the dearth of listings on the exchange, I would say 2 things. One is the process. We've had a serious challenge with the process, particularly through the privatization process and the onerous bureaucracy that entails before a listing is done. And it is something that we have discussed numerously with the Cabinet Secretary designate, and it is something that I believe if the obstacles and the hurdles towards listing are addressed, then I'm sure we are going to see the listings come back again. I think the years 2002 to 2010 saw very many listings and it saw a real lifting of these markets. And the second thing, obviously, is that you know that in most developed markets, the public sector or state-owned enterprise listings lead the charge and is always followed and reciprocated by the private sector. We saw that in France with Euronext, we saw that in the NSE, we've seen it in New York and in many other places. The second thing is obviously the confidence of the business owners to know that they will realize value. And I believe that the testaments that we have received today from the owners of the enterprises that have spoken before us is a clear demonstration. And I'm certain that with that messaging and with the fact that there is a demonstrable evidence that there is a huge benefit in listing, that matter will be remedied in the year to come. In the year to come. We've talked about measurable, so 12 months. So thank you, Chairman, for reminding us that you can do that in 12 months. And hopefully we will all be here to check that it has been done. Engineer Kamau, I'd like to come to you. Kenya has a Privatization Act, which was meant to spur listings by the government, which, as we all know, has not. Perhaps you can tell us what needs to be relooked at within the Privatization Act with a view to bring at least 5 public listings over the next 12 months.
Is it well? Oh, thank you very much. I think first of all, we need to look at the objective of the privatization. And I think when the government came up with the Privatization Act, The objective was actually to raise additional money to be able to finance the budget and also create opportunities for Kenyans to own part of these businesses. Now, this law was enacted in 2005 and operationalized in 2008. But largely we can say, if you look at the reason and the objective for which this act was established, we have not been able to achieve this. And for a number of reasons. I think you need to appreciate that the law has a lot of bureaucracy. I was looking at the kind of steps that you need to go through to privatize a state corporation. It takes about 16 to 17 steps. And I think some of those steps will take maybe 3, 4, 5 months. So we need to look at the act and see which areas we need to remove. And in my view, possibly we may also need to look at broadly the whole framework for privatization. Yeah? And because when I look at the government, we need to do two things. We need to do the primary listing. That is the new entities that we need to bring in the stock market so that we can increase the volume. And we also need to look at the secondary listings, which is the companies already parastatals that are listed where government has shares. We need to offload some of those shares. And we need to have flexibility as government as well, as an investor in an NSE, to be able to trade freely. If you look at the stock market currently, I was looking at the estimate yesterday, the estimated investment by government is 426 billion Kenyan shilling. That's a very large investment for government. And therefore, we need the flexibility to be able to do that. Now, at the currently, if you have to even sell one share as government in the stock market, we have to go through the privatization law. That will take us possibly another 2, 3 years. It becomes very difficult. So, in my view, we need to overhaul the law and create possibly a framework that is a little bit faster. But I also, looking at the previous work that had been done earlier, the government had recommended that we create what you call a government investment company, particularly ownership, because that ownership policy was very critical because that company in itself was supposed to own the assets of government, the parastatals, and it would be able to acquire and sell freely. And I think this is the kind of framework that we need for us to be able to offload some of these companies in the market. Now, talking about the 5 companies that you said in 12 months, I think we have no problem of identifying those 5 companies. I think we have very many companies we can bring on board. But at the same time, I think I do appreciate that one of the things that we needed most, and that is needed most, is also political support and policy support. Because last time, when we were trying to do some privatization, there was the privatization program was put in abeyance in 2014, and this was only lifted in 2019. So even though there was traction to be able to proceed with that process, it may not have been possible because that policy direction was not there. And I think I can see now we have all the commitment that we need so we can be able to move ahead, create the necessary environment to do so. And I think within 12 months, we can be able to bring the likes of KPC, KPA, whatever other companies that we may agree within government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer. Mr. Hook, I'd like to come to you now. KDC is mandated to play a catalytic role in Kenya's socio-economic development by providing long-term financing and other financial investment and advisory services as well. Is there a case to exempt KDC from the Privatization Act in order to bring quick transactions into the market?
Thank you, Terian, for that question. KDC is a government-owned entity for development finance, so it's one of the strongest and the single DFI. Ideally, we are supposed to support the government in its priority development agenda in terms of mobilizing resources. Once resources are mobilized, we have both the support we give to enterprises, both on equity and debt. In terms of existing investments, we've got both equity and, equity both in private and private sectors. Some are mature to the extent that it requires divestiture in terms of recapitalizing and deploying more resources, liquid resources, to the economy. However, again, following up on what Engineer Kamawa said, we have to, when we invest, we don't require approval of the necessary agencies. But when we divest, again, because it's a sale of government asset, we have to go back to the privatization process to divest from mature investments. What then happens? When the process is not efficient enough, ultimately there is erosion of value in the process of the delay, that we don't realize the required resources in time for readiness to deploy to the requiring or needy sectors. So one of the key interventions for KDC as a government DFI to mobilize resources, deploy, and divest at an appropriate time is to create efficiency and agility in divestiture process. And that can only happen if we get exemption from the privatization process, which really delays up to 10 to 13 years sometimes, but requires to give us a free hand to invest and divest at the appropriate time. In terms of supporting the agenda for today, yes, we've got mature investments that we can easily get out to create more capital, recapitalize KDC, and support the government agenda in terms of financing both private sectors, small and medium enterprises, and that's exactly what we are saying, that we need to be exempted for us to be agile and efficient in mobilizing and deploying those resources. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hooker.
Just wait, Terian. So we need to be exempted by who?
Is one of the interventions, sir.
I thought you people are the government. So
Thank you, sir. Quite a valid question. Yes, those are the challenges that are there, but now we are coming to the realization that we need to do the necessary amendments to the Privatization Act. We've already done our memorandum in terms of request for the amendment to the Privatization Commission already, and which I've shared already with the nominee CS for Investment and Trade to help us progress that exemption process. Thank you, sir.
yeah, I think what we should be saying in a nutshell is that we have a bad privatization law, simply put. And instead of helping us with privatization, it has actually stalled the whole privatization agenda, and it is not possible under the current law to carry out the privatization process that we have a plan to. So I have given instructions to Moses that if it is not possible for us to amend that law in our first 100 days in office, let us repeal it. You know, we did so much without the law. We've done so little. We have actually done nothing. Let's just put it. We've done nothing with the law. So I think it's just time we call a spade a spade. All these good people are just dancing with good words around something that we should just be able to call it what it is. I think what is expected of us is whatever we have to do as government, we must do it so that in the next 12 months, we have between 6 and 10 companies listed at the stock exchange as we democratize the wealth we have that is owned by government, so that the public can have a slice a piece of it. Yeah? So I think what is cut out for Moses here, and I am happy that Moses was one of those people are called what? Traders. This Moses was a trader in the stock exchange. So there is no lessons for him to learn from anybody. He knows what he must do. So, and I deliberately took investment from Treasury to trade because we need to accelerate that process. So in short, as we prepare between 6 and 10 companies for listing in the stock exchange in the next 12 months, and I promise you we will deliver on that commitment. I also want to encourage the private sector. As we bring 10 companies, please bring 5 from the private sector. You know, working with the capital markets, I think it is possible, Nesbitt and your team, and the stock exchange, Kiprono and your team, to work with us in the public sector and work with the others in the private sector so that we can unlock the potential that we have in both spreading wealth and also raising capital that is not debt. Debt is weighing down our government and our companies. So it's very important that we go that direction. Let me also say to the private companies, I am told the private companies are reluctant to come to the stock exchange because there are tax issues that may arise if they disclose whatever it is. I want to promise the private sector companies, whatever tax issues may arise, as government, we are willing to work with you so that we can remove any impediments. We are ready to forgive some sins. Let me put it that way. Yeah? So that we can all move together. Yeah? We can all move together. So we're very clear and we want to work with you so that we can unlock the potential that exists through the NSE. Sorry, I took a lot more time.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Let's give a round of applause because you have also become my co-moderator this morning. Mr. Chair, let me come to you now. Ken Invest has played a critical role in attracting investment, in positioning Kenya as an investment destination, but there are also several other government agencies that are seemingly playing a similar role. What needs to be done to, one, align, to ensure that there's one more clarified investor engagement, as well as to provide more clarity within that space?
Thank you very much, Terian, for that question. Indeed, there are several agencies that are promoting investments, facilitating investors, but there is only one that is mandated by law, and that is Kenya Investment Authority. So it is our desire that we have all FDI register with Ken Invest so that you're able to collate and collect data, which also would inform our state of investments. Currently, we don't know how many investors come in because they come in through different channels. They come in through Ken Invest, they come in through other government agencies, they come in through private companies. Lawyers are also registering investors in this country. So we don't have sufficient data in terms of where they're investing, how much they're investing, how much employment comes in, you know, how much foreign employees are there, Kenyan employees. So it's only if we collate these, get all the FDI to register with Ken Invest, if you could make it mandatory registration, either through law or directive, it would really help us move forward. Secondly, in terms of the National Investment Council, Your Excellency, it is our ask that if we could operationalize the National Investment Council, which has been in our Act, the Investment Promotion Act, since 2004. This, under your leadership, would bring the cabinet secretaries who are in charge of the sectors that cut across the National Treasury, the Council of Governors, CS for Lands, and the secretary being the CS in charge of investments, the incoming Moses Kuria. So it is our ask, Your Excellency, that you could operationalize the National Investment Council. This would definitely be a game changer in terms of dealing with investor concerns in a more efficient, in a more well researched and a timely manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. President, would you like to?
Terian, you have to be careful because we might have to share the stipend for moderation at this rate. Yes, I want to confirm to Madam Racher here, that one of the deliverables that I have committed myself to in that investment space is to operationalize the National Investment Council. That you can count on my support. So that we can think through and we can provide leadership in that whole space of investment. There was something else that has escaped my mind I wanted to say, but I will remember. But Moses Kuria, I have taken a lot of time to have this conversation with him. We have it in our manifesto. If you look at our manifesto, we have said we are going to explore alternative sources of raising money for investment and for development. And we have listed the sale of profitable government entities to Kenyans as part of that strategy. So it is not a sterile provision in our manifesto. It is something we intend to deliver on. And I am very happy that even though we were thinking in a different environment, I am very happy to listen to what the players, the actors in the stock exchange are saying. And they are perfectly in tandem with the plan we put in the manifesto.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Dr. America, I would like to come to you now, and pension funds have been mentioned quite a bit this morning. How can NSSF mobilize funds to raise the capital, the national savings rate, in order to increase investment capital and, of course, the investable universe in the capital markets?
Thank you, Terian. There's a profound opportunity in playing bigger in the NSE through savings. We have a critical mass of Kenyans who are underserved, mostly people who are in the informal sector. And this number is huge, over 15 million Kenyans who are not in any pension scheme. Now, with a quick calculation, backed by the incentive that the government has promised to give, I think with quick math and take, for example, if we only get 2 million of these underserved Kenyans under the ambit of NSSF, and we have the infrastructure already. We have a product called the Haba Haba that allows Kenyans of that cadre to contribute as little as 25 shillings a day, which translates to 500 shillings a month, which plugs into the 6,000 that the government spoke to. Now, if they contribute, if they match that ratio, the 2-to-1 ratio, I think at the end of the year, we will have 3 times. The amount of money that we collect currently will increase threefold. And as you know, NSSF plays a critical role in the NSE. Our footprint is 3%. If you compound that and add the new monies, I think we'll move from the 65 billion that we're investing in the NSE to maybe over 180 billion. And that will translate to enhancing the NSE. And the multiply effect of that will also be that Kenyans will be able to contribute into the new entrants into the stock market. Currently, we play in around 29 counters in the NSE. I think in some of the good stocks we've reached our internal limits, and we want to encourage that new players come into the market. On the second, okay, thank you. On the second point, it is very important to ensure that the government borrows locally, and through mobilization of savings, both in NSSF and in the greater pension sector, I think we'll work well to reduce our debt burden in that area. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to rope in the CEO of NIFCA, Oscar Njuguna. NIFCA was set up to be East Africa's leading financial hub, providing an efficient gateway for investors and businesses to the African markets. What are you doing currently to position Kenya as an investment hub, not only for East Africa, because it already is, but for Africa as a whole?
Thank you, Terian. The Nairobi International Financial Center is a new operating environment that's been set up to do exactly what we're talking about today, which is to position the regional hub, but really a hub for Africa. As a continent. So we've started off by putting in place the framework that is necessary and the building blocks for us to create this environment. We've looked at some of the issues that have been touched on, like the taxation for capital gains tax, and it was officially opened. And we've had the first firm coming into Kenya, which is the Prudential Africa, the Africa headquarters for Prudential, which is one of the largest global insurers and asset managers. And we're looking at a startup segment as well for smaller firms that are looking to access capital and also use innovative ways of raising finance, like carbon trading. So there's a few firms that are looking at the NIFC as a venue for that. But really, we are looking at catalyzing the innovation across the financial sector, looking at new areas like fintech, but also carbon trading. So we've entered into a partnership with the Nairobi Securities Exchange and Air Carbon Exchange to really work out a way in which we can create the first East African carbon trading exchange that will enable businesses, especially businesses that are here, but also new businesses, to monetize the carbon that exists in the businesses that they're creating. And so we can move towards a trajectory of clean finance. I think in terms of being clear that we need to position ourselves, that we are looking to doing is putting together a framework for the development of a regional hub within the country. We're looking at a flagship location that I think will serve as a home away from home for all the global investors and businesses that are looking to come into Kenya and use Nairobi as a base to do business across the continent. So we have a lot of ambition, and I think we're working with stakeholders to ensure that we can deliver on that ambition.
All right, thank you so much. Koske, I'd like to come to you. A lot has been said about the Privatization Act and the Privatization Law. With the benefit of working within the Privatization Commission as Executive Director, what are your thoughts about what can be done? Repeal the Act or amend the Act?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. I think the issue around the review of the Act has been discussed, but I want to state it this way, that cognizant of the fact that the privatization process as envisaged today in the current Act is a bureaucratic process, we've taken a proactive role as a commission, and my chairman is here, to start that process of review of the Act. So as His Excellency has said that you would want to see either a repeal or an amendment within the next 100 days, I want to commit that that process has started. We've actually started mapping, our stakeholders in terms of engagement, and we are very convinced that within this particular period of time, we'll be able to have this act amended. But I think more importantly, I would want to maybe bring to the attention of the audience that privatization is a very emotive issue. And what is really very critical to make it successful is stakeholder engagement. And we've done mapping and ensured as a commission that when we conduct this particular process, it is very transparent, it is very open and above board, so that then we are able to get support from the key stakeholders so that this particular process can be able to be moved forward. And I want to stress that if you look at the Act as it is, there are various benefits that come around with it. And one of them is what we call broadening the base. It gives an opportunity to all Kenyans, individuals, institutional investors, to be able to put in their resources and investments in government-owned enterprises, so that then we're able to see ownership by Kenyans. And another, again, is that we are there and we come in to deepen and be able to support capital markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Koske. We're coming to an end now, but I'd like to take some final comments from Chairman and His Excellency. Chairman, there has been a mention of digital access. You know, how does the border gentleman that has been mentioned earlier get to trade on his phone? I know Peter Ndegwa is here, so perhaps we can get a commitment from
Thank you. Thank you very much, Terian. I'll just answer that very briefly. Yes, that has been addressed, and I'm glad to report that in the briefing session before we came in here, Peter Ndegwa made a commitment to His Excellency that Safaricom and other stakeholders in the ICT ecosystem would work towards creating more digital access. And I think it is noteworthy that Kenya is the only economy on the planet where 1/3 of our GDP is transacted on the phone. And that is, historical. And I think there's also going to be innovation to ensure greater access. One of the things that we did in the absence of any significant events like listings, which we've been looking for over the years, was the partnership we got into with Safaricom for Bonga points to shares. He also gave us a commitment that will be revitalized. We'll do more marketing so we can actually use that platform much more effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Your Excellency, your final words.
Thank you very much. Let me say a couple of things. I am reliably informed by economists that investment is a function largely of savings, or it should be. If we do not have a savings culture, it becomes very difficult for us to participate meaningfully in investments. And that is why I have been on the case of trying to work with the entities that exist like NSSF and others on matters to do with promoting the culture of savings. We all seated in this room know that it was decided maybe 30 years ago that you will save 10% of your earnings, but it was put a cap of to the extent of 200 shillings. So up to today, majority of the people on the roll of NSSF are paying 200 shillings. And it is ridiculous. We just got a ruling from the court a week ago that it is wrong for us to increase from 200 shillings. I find that, I don't know really what we are doing. So, and I have had a conversation with the board and management of NSSF, and we have agreed that we need to go and talk to the court again to ask them, surely, do we live in the same country? Because NSSF are telling me progressively it's getting to be more expensive to collect the 200 shillings. We may as well forget about it. Because it's becoming more expensive to provide the infrastructure to collect the 200 shillings. So we must drive that savings agenda from every corner. And I want us to persuade ourselves that savings is the right way to go. I am hoping that working with Parliament and working with the judiciary, we can arrive at a compromise where we can increase our savings. And I like the words of Mr. Kelly. He said, savings must be mandatory. There are not two ways about it. There are not two ways about it. And we will be persuading Parliament. Hopefully we should be able to persuade our courts so that we can all do the right thing and go the journey of saving. That's one thing I really want all of us to work on. Secondly, my two good friends at that extreme end, Nairobi, the financial services, the Nairobi Financial Services, is it?
Nairobi International Financial Center.
Nairobi International Financial Center. It's been there for 5 years. It's not a new organization. The CEO said it's a new organization. It's not. 5 years is not new. And they haven't moved much. You know, let's also be honest. The Privatization Commission, Mr. Kosgei there, is 13 years since we got, the last company was listed. I think it will be fair to ask for a refund of salaries from those two gentlemen. Honestly. I mean, they haven't done the job they were hired to do, you know? And because the job is based on results. If there are no results, it doesn't matter what you have been doing. So really, Mr. Kosgei and Mr. Njuguna, you guys must actually demonstrate to me why you should not refund the salaries we've been paying you. Because we had a vision for the International Financial Center. I have told Mr. Njuguna here that it must be, we must have results. The Privatization Commission, we cannot be lamenting about the law. It is in our power to change the law. We don't exist to obey the law. The law exists to serve us. If it is not serving us, we change. If it is not, if we cannot change, we repeal, so that we give ourselves the latitude to do the right thing. So I want to commit on behalf of these two gentlemen and Mr. Omerikwa there, that we will provide the necessary leadership so that all these organizations can deliver on their mandate. And we will provide the necessary leadership. We will put together the legal infrastructure for us to be able to actualize what these organizations were meant to achieve. If again you look at our manifesto, these are instruments, or these are interventions we committed ourselves that we are going to work on. Finally, I don't want to take over your job, Terian. Finally, to the NSE and to the stakeholders in the entire capital markets ecosystem, I want to commit to you that we have Mr. Njuguna here and Moses Kuria. I have confidence in these gentlemen to deliver on our plan to make sure that we unlock the potential that exists in the NSE. Asante.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, you may take your seats, and I'd like to hand over now to Mr. Wanjohi.
We have another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to the panelists. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. the panelists. Thank you, Terry and Chebet. We may sit, Your Excellency, we may be seated. If it pleases Your Excellency, it is now my pleasure and privilege to invite Bwana Kiprono Kitone, to invite His Excellency the Deputy President, to invite Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MC. Your Excellency, just, as we had to cut my remarks briefly because of the time that we had to open the market. But let me just say very briefly that one of the things that I didn't mention earlier on is that we listed the first green bond. And I can see Mr. Kirade in the house. He can please be standing. We had Acon green bond cross-listed with London, and he's been very successful in that initiative. Looking around the room, Your Excellency, I think there are many brides in the house. And for us as the exchange, as a groom, we will be asking you to be our chief negotiator, to use the words of Moses Kuria. Looking around the room, Vimal has been mentioned many times. I see people like Richard Ngatia, I see people like Joshua Chepkwony, I see people like Dr. Mishra, I see Joachim Westerveld, I see James Degwa, I see many leading investors in this country. And Your Excellency, we will be asking that you help us to speak with these people, wafungue roho, ili mali tulete kwa soko la hisa, ili wananchi wapate nafasi ya pia kuwa wawekezaji. So Your Excellency, our two requests will only be that we have more state-owned and owned enterprise listings, and Your Excellency, we as a private sector, we as a Nairobi Securities Exchange, we commit, we will do our part. It is now my singular, and with the other historical thing, apart from Your Excellencies being here, is I cannot remember the last time we've had a high-level function as this on time. I once visited Japan, and we were told, if you're asked to attend a function at 9, be there at 8:45. We expected Your Excellency at 8:45, you were here at 8:30. So we were all running around the lift. We almost broke our legs. But if this is the way Kenya is going to go, there's two things that business people like. One is timekeeping, and two is decisiveness. We like a yes or a no answer. And by the way, in business, a no answer is as good as a yes, because you save time. You can go and do something else if you're told no. So those are the two things we are seeing clearly in your administration, and we are very excited as a private sector. It is now my singular honor and privilege to invite His Excellency, the Deputy President of our Republic of Kenya, old friend of mine. Congratulations, sir, Your Excellency, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, all the players in the capital market, good morning. Mine is very brief, Your Excellency. First and foremost is to underscore that we were voted into office overwhelmingly by the people of Kenya on the platform of economic transformation. In that journey, in that quest, the capital markets industry is our very serious partner. And the presence of His Excellency the President this morning here underscores our serious commitment to partner with you for the economic transformation of this great republic and eventually to restore the dignity of the Kenyan people by improving the quality of lives. I want to confirm to you that we have very firm and strict instructions from the President to do whatever it takes to do away with the bureaucracy and red tape to facilitate and support investment. That you have our word, and we shall do what needs to be done, and the Investments Commission and National Assembly, in the review of that law, will roll out a very robust, extensive public participation so that the players can give their input so that we get the right law into place. finally, let me also confirm to you that the problems we developed in this country has been a problem of leadership. Everything starts and ends with the leadership. Once you have the right leader in place to give leadership and direction, everything gets very easily done. I want to confirm from where I sit and my continuous engagement on a daily basis with our president. He's an easy president, he's an easy leader. He'll be available to you on short notice to discuss on what we need to do to improve investment and overall our economy. Our president has given a policy direction that his style of governance is one that is based on continuous engagement. And he is very clear that he doesn't know everything, and is quite happy to be corrected and to be given new thinking to enrich his own thinking to be able to make the right decisions for this great country. With those few remarks, I ask you to be upstanding and put your hearts together. We welcome the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto.
Asanteni sana, tuketi chini. Thank you very much, Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President, the Chairman of Capital Markets Authority, the Chairman of Nairobi Stock Exchange, captains and leaders of industry, wananchi watukufu, hamjambo. Our government is committed to delivering significant, rapid, inclusive, and sustainable socio-economic transformation by undertaking impactful interventions in 5 key pillars of our development agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a nation to feed. We have millions of Kenyan youth to employ. And we have to make affordable housing a reality in Kenya. We need a healthy nation of 50 million strong, happy citizens in good health. It is time for Kenyans to enjoy universal health coverage that invests in promotive and preventive interventions besides curative treatment. Our envisaged national transformation will be delivered on the back of a robust and empowered micro, small, and medium enterprise-sized enterprises sector, and it is also time to invest in a digital superhighway to facilitate young Kenyans to plug more firmly and deeply into the global digital economy, thereby enabling them create jobs, generate incomes on an unprecedented scale. In implementation efforts towards these priorities are the game changers of our socio-economic system that will unleash tremendous potential positive change while creating millions of jobs and dramatically increasing earnings and wealth. This grand assignment we have committed to requires the investment of immense amounts of resources at a time when we have tremendous challenges connected with the state of our public finances. A lot of our revenue is committed to servicing our financial obligations, and financing development is becoming even more challenging in our country. Yet, we cannot defer the possibilities that will be unlocked through investment in critical enablers of rapid transformation, or postpone the promise of sustainable development to await debt repayment. As part of the strategic configuration of our way forward, my administration intends to not only focus on strengthening and deepening our capital markets to become an alternative source of development capital, but also an alternative form of investment to most Kenyans. This is why we have established for the first time a State Department for Investment Promotion under a principal secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. To affirm this resolve, my administration will revitalize the capital markets by embarking on privatization of state-owned enterprises where divestiture is overdue and strategic, as well as the introduction of such innovative products as a domestic dollar-denominated bond. I have said and made a commitment, and I have asked the ministry concerned that between 5 and 10 public enterprises that are mature should be listed in the next 12 months. I expect that the private sector will work with the capital markets so that we can also have companies from the private sector listing in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. My government is prepared to work with companies that want to list in the stock exchange to overcome some of the challenges that you may have that are denying you the opportunity to list in the stock exchange. In order for us to do this, the government is embarking on review of the existing privatization law with a view to repealing it or replacing it with a legal and less inhibiting and more facilitative policy framework to steward rapid privatization processes. Even as we seek to strengthen and deepen the capital markets, we are cognizant of the need to protect and promote the small investors. I have instructed the Capital Markets Authority and other relevant departments to work on developing framework that places investor protection, including the enhancement of the Investor Compensation Fund, investor education, and strict enforcement of compliance by market intermediaries as the center of a re-energized capital markets. We must remember that the golden years of our capital market activities were inaugurated by Safaricom initial public offer in 2008, which generated intense public interest, attracting millions of small investors and bringing Mama Mboga to the security exchange. The strong economic performance of those years and the affordability and availability of credit were dividends of this strong public confidence and robust participation in our capital markets. As you will recall, the IPO was consequently oversubscribed by 532%. It is time to bring back those times, and today, as I ring the bell, I shall be inviting all Kenyans, the Hustler Nation, into the Nairobi Securities Exchange and take the Nairobi Securities Exchange to all Kenyans. I remember, and I want to ask the leadership of CDSC, is it? When I asked at that point in time how we can bring small investors, how we can bring ordinary Kenyans to buy into our bonds. We agreed on M-Kopa, but I'm told that, M-Akiba. But it did only, there was only one bond list at that time, and it ended there. Mr. Njuguna, you are a big player. You understand how this should work. I am looking forward to the day when our bonds will be shared between the big players and the small players in equal measure. I want to ask, and I must congratulate our banks. They have stood with us. Whenever we went to the market with our bonds, they have supported us. They've always been there. But I also want to ask that we bring the other Kenyans into that space. We all agree it's a profitable space. It's not always you get interest of 10%, 12% guaranteed by government. You're doing well. I mean, the banks are doing well. Let's be honest. But the small people are not doing well. You know, they are getting 2%, 1% for the money they save in our banks. I think it's only fair that we begin the journey to even our returns. Let us even the returns. Because bottom-up is about not leaving anyone behind. Let's move together. It's the best way to grow the economy. Inequality breeds suspicion. The more we create an unequal society, the dangerous it becomes. We should proactively, deliberately work together towards minimizing and reducing inequalities in our society by making sure that we democratize opportunities for wealth creation. Let me repeat it again. I am saying we must work deliberately to equalize opportunities and democratize opportunities for wealth acquisition by making sure that we democratize opportunities for each and every one of us to get a slice of the cake. Additionally, my administration has set out its commitment to promote the public-private partnership framework as yet another preferred mode of development financing, which we intend to rely on in mobilizing necessary funding for investment in diverse sectors, including roads, housing, water, energy, ICT, and agriculture. This renewed commitment to the growth of capital markets, inbuilt with well-developed modalities that provide clear and effective exit mechanisms for our public-private partnership investors, should serve as the highest assurance from administration to investors that their investments are safe and that their investment decisions in Kenya are made in a predictable, coherent, and stable environment. I want to persuade you that the growth of the capital markets has to be a shared agenda of my government and the private sector. There is need for both sectors to work together in good faith, develop trust, and make reciprocal contribution to its success. It is my hope and desire that the private sector will reciprocate the government efforts to accelerate privatization and develop our capital markets by offering more privately owned enterprises for listing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange as part of their contribution. And on this note, I want to congratulate Bio for beginning the journey to list in the stock exchange, and also congratulate Credit Bank. I am told that they too, Madam Korir, they too have gotten the necessary approvals to list in the stock exchange. That is a positive signal for all of us, including those of us in the public sector. The envisioned growth of the capital markets will be sustainable through processes that place due consideration to environmental protection and climate change mitigation. I challenge capital markets players to devise with innovative solutions and incentives that reward best practices based on environment, social, and governance principles. I have in mind, for example, such innovations as the issuance of green bonds and the establishment of a secondary market for our carbon credits. Finally, we expect all these measures to culminate in the significant promotion of Kenya's position in the world map of money centers alongside Johannesburg, Frankfurt, London, New York, Shanghai, Tokyo, and Dubai. 5 years ago, Kenya took its initial significant step towards this ambition of enacting the legislation to set up the Nairobi International Financial Center as an authority, as the basis for the formulation of the necessary incentive schemes to attract leading global financial players. We are now taking another step by setting up the proposed Nairobi Financial District. We are taking another step in that journey. We envision the district to be the world's newest and most exciting financial center, as well as the home of choice to the world's leading financial institutions, and envisage it establishing itself firmly as the best place to work and live. This is no idle dream. Nairobi is already a leading destination for international civil servants who work for various multilateral institutions. I call upon the private sector to support and participate in the Nairobi Financial District, which will be set up as the gold standard for our public-private partnership program. We have a plan to transform Kenya. We have the commitment and the political goodwill to do what it takes to actualize it. We have a thriving private sector and a capital market that holds great promise. This moment is pregnant with wonderful possibilities, and we must deliver them together. We stand on the cusp of an opportunity to renew the relationship between Kenyans of all walks of life with the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and to reaffirm the place of the capital markets in igniting and sustaining unprecedented national development and socio-economic transformation. Today, therefore, I'm delighted to ring this bell and to usher in a new era of inclusive transformation possibilities, spanning the public and the private sector, involving all from the bottom up. And let me assure my good brother, Kili, that I know the contribution of the pension ecosystem in the development of our country. I know what our pension system is doing in mobilizing savings. I am pleased to hear what you can do. You have said we should have given you an opportunity to build the expressway and to build the SGR using local resources. That is exciting. I want to tell you, those two are already done, but there is more we can do. We are discussing the construction of the dual carriageway to Mau Summit with investors. I will welcome you to put in a proposal, and your organizations. And it would really be exciting if we can deliver some of the huge infrastructure using our own resources, structured and mobilized in the correct manner, using the correct instruments. Because of what you have said, you have an appointment in my good office with your various organizations on Thursday afternoon at 2:30. Because that conversation you want us to have, I have also been looking forward to it. So we will pick up from where we have left today, and I hope you mobilize your sector to come and have a conversation with us. We will continue to have this engagement. Nobody has the monopoly of all knowledge, but together we can build a genius economy if we work together. So I am very confident that working together with respect and making sure that we are courteous to one another, we can be able to, and we do not have a choice. Failure, good people, is not an option. This is our country. Collectively, we must work at it and make sure that we all succeed. As my good deputy has said, we are prepared to listen. We want to give way. If we have a good idea and you have a better idea, we will agree to give way our good idea for your better idea, because that's the only way we can take Kenya forward. So I want to say thank you very much. I am really proud to be part of this event that hopefully, as I have said earlier, will unlock the potential that exists in Kenya and in Kenyans, and make sure that nobody is left behind. Asanteni sana.
Your Excellency, briefly to remain on stage, very briefly, Your Excellency, sir, and request the chairperson and the CEO to come up the stage and present a gift to His Excellency the President as a memento for this great occasion today. The rest of us, we may be seated kindly as the chairperson, on behalf of NSE, presents a gift to His Excellency.
Your Excellency, the gift that is being presented to you now is the raging bull. You know that the market has, in its ebbs and flows, has a bull and a bear. So the bear signifies a declining market, and a bull signifies a rising market. So the memento we are presenting to you is the bull and the bell that you have just rung. Thank you, Your Excellency.
After this, I will request all of us to remain seated as His Excellency the President takes his leave, and Your Excellency will plead for 2 photographs outside there, one with the Board of Management, NSE, and the second one with the pioneers. And after that, we'll have the national anthem after the photo session. Your Excellency, after the board tukimbie kidogo, wale wengine tubaki kidogo dakika chache so that we finalize with that small bit.